Welcome to How's the Head podcast. Today I have a very special guest. This is going to be my first episode released. I am here to talk with a friend of mine, Paddy O'Brien. Paddy is an outstanding member of CA, someone who helps so many people within the community and helped me a lot when I was there. Paddy has a very interesting story. So first of all, we're going to start with Paddy's story, and then we're going to let Sean jump in, Paddy's son, to talk a little bit about martial arts and his fighting career. So first of all, what's the crack, Paddy? How's the head?
Yeah, I'm all good, Kevin. I'm all good. Good to be here.
So Paddy, I suppose I'm going to kick off. I want to kick off. I know it's your podcast, but I'm going to kick off with a story. The first night we met when I was at a CA meeting, you dropped me home. And we were speaking. We actually spoke about doing a podcast the first time we met. So this is a big moment. The first time me and Paddy sat in the car together, we said we were going to do a podcast. And the story that remember we had the two of us had hairs standing up on our arms. I had spoke to you that I had a suicide attempt in front of a train, and you then spoke to me to say you had once had an attempt in a place called Asher, which is also where my dad got sober, and you were actually saved by a man named Kevin, which was ironic. So that was kind of, when you have a spiritual moment when you meet somebody, you're like, I'm gonna know this person forever now, because that was fucking mad trippy. But that's just a story that I love, that just stuck out to me in the early days of CA. But this is your podcast, so we're gonna go all the way back to your childhood. We always start at childhood, so I suppose first question: brothers, sisters, ma, dad, what was the family setup and where was it?
Yeah, my name is Paddy O'Brien. I grew up in Bray, and childhood, I grew up in a good family. I'm a traveller, and I grew up in a good traveller family. I never really wanted for much, Kevin, as a child. With a good father who worked hard to provide. Got out of his bed every morning, went to work, and had a good mother who had 3 dinners on the table every day. Was well fed, well clothed. And I've 4 younger sisters, and I've 3 of my sisters passed away, and I suppose that's where my trauma started to happen at a young age.
Yeah.
At a young age, I started to lose a lot of people who meant so much to me, and 3 of my sisters were the closest.
And you had 3 sisters or 4?
I've 4. I've 1 now who's still alive. Yeah. 3 of my sisters died. They had a disease called the Lang syndrome. It's a rare disease that runs in the girls. In the family, you skip the boys. We skipped me. I'm the only boy of no brothers, and I'm the oldest. And that's when it all started. From that age, trying to figure out what it was all about.
Yeah.
Why are my 3 sisters dying? And I couldn't understand it. It was only in the later years that I started to really understand.
What age were you when?
I was 14 when my 3rd sister passed away.
Christ.
So I was in secondary school.
Yeah.
But even at that, I never grieved right. Do you know what I mean? I just got on with it.
Well, come here, Paddy. I look at most grown men now. When someone that they love passed away, they still don't grieve, right? So I can't imagine a 14-year-old boy is gonna even know how to. Yeah. Was your dad like a manly man as well?
I never really seen him cry, to be honest. Not that I can remember. I'm sure he's cried when he's on his own. It'd be tough to lose 1 daughter, let alone 3. But for myself, I was big into sports, playing football, playing hurling. If you ever see me on the roads, I always had a football at my 2 feet.
Yeah,
and just running around the roads, and childhood was good only for all that was happening.
Just for that.
And as
that's fucking pretty colossal. Yeah. It's not like it's 1 sister, it's 3, which is fucking very unique.
It's tough, and I have memories now of the sadness in the family home. The cries of my 3 sisters when they were sick, and my mother going through an awful lot.
Yeah.
You know, crying all the time, the sadness. But for me, growing up, like as I said, it didn't really hit me until later years because I would have bottled it all down.
Yeah.
And I always share this, you know, even as I'm talking to you about it now, I remember being at the graveside watching my sisters being buried and not crying and watching everybody else cry.
Yeah.
And I have that memory. I can see all faces around me crying, and I was just sitting there looking at them. Just numb.
Yeah.
Completely numb, you know, and not understanding why.
Yeah.
You know, so I would have, any sort of spiritual way of living back then, I would have just turned me back on it all.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, of course.
God and all sort of things like that. I just would have said, there's such thing as a God. I remember even saying to myself, you know, there's such thing as God, why are they taking my 3 sisters, you know? Like, they lived until they were 3-4 years of age, you know, so it's even tougher.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's always going to be tough, but Jesus Christ, that's...
Yeah, so you have them in your life.
Them, bond them, watch them grow for that amount. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, Jesus, how your mad I made it through that, because, I mean, I have a son and 2 little girls, and Jesus, I wouldn't know how I would cope with losing one, let alone 2 or 3, or just insane.
It was tough. It was tough, Kev, you know.
Can't imagine that
was
pain for your mad dad. It's just insane.
But they're good people.
Yeah.
You know, and especially my father, man, he tried to keep us all together, you know. But as I went through my life, my personal journey, I just rebelled then against everything. I would have started drinking at a young age, you know. A lot of my grieving was coming out with drink.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, when I drank,
you would talk to people then and you would cry then.
Yeah, but not only that, I was angry then, and I was thinking an awful lot. Do you know what I mean? And that would have just bottled it all down. I know now today that I should have got counselling back then.
Yeah.
Professional help.
Yeah.
Because I'm always on to people now about getting professional help. You know, go to somebody you can talk to and trust. But yeah, that was life, and as I progressed through life and as I was getting older, I always speak about the 2 boys, you know. I've Johnny, who was my uncle, who was a couple of years older than me. We were reared up together. He was like a brother I never had.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy, who was my first cousin, I was a couple of months older than Jimmy. And them 2 passed away.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy died in a car crash. Sean wasn't even born. Sean wasn't even born back then, you know. He was only 17. Yeah. He died in a car crash, and he was my best friend, like.
Yeah.
You know, like the brother I never had. We were reared up together.
Yeah.
And then Johnny took his own life. You know, he rang me the day before, and he was struggling, and he took his own life. So at that age, I was losing people.
Yeah.
That meant so much to me.
Death is always a treat, isn't it? Like my first loss, the first major loss that I experienced that wasn't like an aunt or an uncle was my friend Craig at 20. He was in a motorbike crash the day before his 21st birthday, and like he was in hospital, and I was so young and even though I had trauma in my life, I was so young and naive that I just thought he was gonna get out, because I just thought like dying wasn't for young people. You know what I mean? Whatever about trauma or growing up in a mad house, but like when I got word that he died, I was actually on the way in to see him, and I'll never forget it. Changed my whole, something changed in me that day when I felt that first bit of death and the reality of life. You know what I mean? And it's tough, and I think like they were saying, 17 and around that age, like the most important people they are actually your friends, their best friends. You know what I mean? It's nearly like, probably at that silly young age, nearly tougher than your ma or dad. It's like because of the bond you have with them. Like. Come here. What age were you then when your second cousin died? Were they close together?
No, there was a good few years between them when Johnny passed and Jimmy passed. Jimmy would have passed away. I would have been about 18, in around that age. I'm trying to get the head. Yeah.
And let me ask this, at 18, are you already in active addiction?
No. Now, when you say active addiction, I'm going out every weekend on drinking.
You're doing the casual 18-year-old going.
What we do, I grew up in Bray, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so what I done, I'm a product of my own environment, as I like to say. I'm only doing what was done before me.
Yeah.
I drank, went out on a Friday, didn't come home on a Sunday, a session, done all that.
Yeah.
But it was always just an escape.
Yeah.
You know, it was always just an escape on how I was actually feeling. I've had some great times like all of us. Do you know what I mean? But no, I wouldn't have been actually using every single day.
Let me ask you this, Paddy. This is something that I mentioned to you. As you were growing up in Bray, and you're a travelling man, is that ever any type of discrimination? Have you ever suffered? Was there, like, I can't imagine, like, you look like you would have been a wild boy. I can't imagine too many people were saying things to your face, but did you ever feel it in schools or in your educational system or going for jobs or anything like that?
I've been asked this question a few times.
Yeah.
What was it like? What's it like being a traveller growing up? And the only way I can answer it is, Kevin, is it's not about being a traveller, alright? For me, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all. And it wasn't about being a traveller growing up, it was about trying to find myself.
Yeah. As an individual.
Yeah. What part do I play in society? Like, who am I? Who's Paddy?
Yeah, so you could have had bigger things to be worried about.
Yeah.
Than the whole, like,
I was trying to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
Like every young man growing up, we're all trying to figure out who we actually are. Alright? And it's only now as I go on later in life and that I'm in recovery and stuff that I actually found out who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a traveller and I'm a proud traveller and I'm proud of my family.
Yeah.
And growing up, I did experience the word knacker being used around me.
Yeah.
Even school teachers. I remember a school teacher called me a knacker.
Jesus.
You know? But back, yeah, it would have hurted back then because of who I am. But at the end of the day, I'm a human being. I think with society now, everybody wants to label people of this and that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, there are people that are just looking for labels now. It's like it's gone backwards.
Yeah.
People are like wanting to be labelled.
Exactly.
Now.
It's after doing a whole 360, I think.
Yeah, it's like weird.
A whole 360. Like, it wasn't so long ago that the politicians of Ireland were using the word knacker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's always been there. The word knacker's been in society for years upon years. You know?
I'm always interested because I suppose, right, as a young man, I experienced like racism, being called a nigger and stuff like that. But I mean, I wasn't even black, but I feel like that in today's society, people are like, oh no, racism doesn't really exist in Ireland anymore. Yeah. But I actually think that it very much does, and the travelling community are to get the most of it. I have a very close friend, Mick, he's a travel man as well, but very proud, like real proud man. He's but it was his family, the fires up in Carrick Mines that time. I don't know if you went to I'm sure you heard about it. But just the way that whole thing was handled was like prime racism.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it was if that had happened to any other class
or anywhere else,
any other race or any immigrant that was in the country now, it would be handled totally different. And I thought that was one of the biggest signs of like, look, there it is there. So I think it's always important, like, kind of, not as much like for you to talk about your experience with racism or being a traveller, but I think it's good for I like my viewers to realise that it's a real thing. Yeah. Because it's made out like it's not, but it is a thing.
It's 100% a real thing.
Absolutely a thing.
And it's still happening today. You know, for me to sort of talk about it now was like, growing up, I would have experienced an awful lot of that. But when I'm looking at myself today and the work that I've done on myself, back then I was always just trying to fit in anywhere. Yeah. And the sort of person I am, and I know who I am, I had a lot of friends who were not travellers. Yeah. Then I had friends who were travellers. So I was constantly putting up a mask and trying to fit in here and fit in there. That's like a lot of people, but they just get the chameleon and the masks off. Especially a lot of addicts. Like eventually you become a 100%. Master at the masks. And that's what I was at that. I remember it being at that age. You know, constantly having the mask up. Inside, I was just full of fear, anxiety, and everything else that went with it. But the ego was so big that I had to fit in here and here. But today, it's not like that. And that's why I have that answer to that question. What was it like being a traveller growing up? Yeah, of course, it's tough because there's a label put onto you. because of who you are. But at the end of the day, I can't control what other people say.
Yeah.
What their view is. That's entirely up to them. Do you know what I mean?
You are obviously a much more calm Paddy now. But
100%.
I'm asking like 19, 20-year-old Paddy. Do you know what I mean? Who has the anger built up because of his sister. Would he be exploding a lot? Did you get into many fights, or is it never really? When you, I presume you were in a close cancer character.
I was a ticking time bomb by the explode, Kevin.
It's mad the way fear can then actually project.
Yeah.
As actually what looks like fear of nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's like
when I put drink inside me, I become a different person. It's a ticking time bomb waiting to explode.
Yeah.
And I've done some really bad stuff. Do you know what I mean?
The podcaster really just wants to go like what?
Like, I'll give you a prime example. Sean's sitting over there. Sean won't remember this, but Sean's communion, I ended up in Bray Guard Station. Or Sean's christening, sorry.
Yeah.
Christening. I smashed up the pub that we were in all that day, and I ended up in Bray Guard Station for the night, so I missed the whole christening.
Yeah.
You fast forward on years later to his communion, the same thing happened. I ended up in Bray Guard Station. So every time I stood in front of a judge, which was often when I was drinking, it was all drunken disorderly, threatening abusive behaviour, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was just a different person. I was an angry person that never dealt with childhood trauma that was coming out of me. And that's what it was. I know today that's what it was.
And how were you in school? What was your education like as you were younger? Did you go to school even? Like,
I done my leaving cert.
When I asked did you go to school, were you actually going in?
No, I went to the same school Sean went to. I actually got further than Sean. Sean dropped out.
Sean, when you have exceptional talent, exception to the rule though.
But I went to school, like any young lad, I don't want to be in the school.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in the lowest class, not really paying attention to what's going on. But I done a leaving cert.
Yeah.
I went off to college, got a trade, spent 4 years in college, done all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And have you got any? What did you study in college?
I'm a qualified printer by trade.
Printer? No.
Yeah.
What's that?
Label printing. So I would have served me time in a factory up in Bray. And I went off then to Bolton Street College for 4 years.
Yeah, just wasn't playing.
Served me time. I done it for the best part of 9 years.
Oh right, so that's what you were at before you were.
Yeah, that's what I was at. And then I was on the building sites and all after that, labouring and stuff.
Let me ask you this, right? I want to ask you about your relationship with your sister that's alive. You was close, I presume. You're probably
close.
Yeah. I mean. And is she the youngest of the sisters, or what
no,
order?
She's right there now. Jesus. Yeah, she's the oldest of the three.
She's the oldest of the three, so she has also lived through this trauma with you.
Yeah,
so she's lived through it together.
Yeah.
And what your relationship is close now?
Close, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see her as often as I should.
Well, adults,
that's life.
That's life.
You know, adults. Life gets in the way.
At what point, first of all, at what point did you start to get sober? I'm presuming there was a lot of tries and fails along the way. But was there anything that was the thing that made you go, right now, I have to stop now?
We all talk about rock bottoms, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, my rock bottoms had trapdoors that open all the time.
Oh yeah. We used to ban the saying from my house, I can't get any worse. Not allowed to say that in my house. Yeah. Every time someone said that in my house, God went, oh, can you not?
Yeah.
Testing fate, are we?
I've had many rock bottoms, Kevin.
Yeah.
When I first started would have been, I'm a compulsive gambler.
Yeah.
As well as a chronic cocaine user and an alcoholic. Me gambling would have been the first to take off. You know, and that really got out of control. I would have been about 24, 25 when the gambling really got out of control.
Yeah. Where
I used to just gamble every weekend.
Yeah.
And then it became every day. And then I was in the bookies 7-8 hours a day, non-stop.
And then once you told me a very powerful story that I actually kind of tell the people to scare them. Don't ever put your name on it now, but you told me a story of like when you were in full-fledged addiction, like from doing the cocaine, you were thinking that you weren't having any luck in local bookies and you would drive miles to bookies, but like the cocaine psychosis had you just making terrible decisions to drive. Like, wow, just to give for the people that you have. I know that story. I'd love you to tell that story. That's a powerful one for me. Of like, because I was one of those that never really. I was like looked at gambling. I just laughed and went, nah, I know what I'm like.
Yeah.
I know what I'm like. I know where that goes with me. So I never really got into gambling, thankfully. Like, you know what I mean. But a lot of the CA members say that it's the worst one.
For me, gambling
was the worst one.
Gambling's my primary addiction.
Yeah.
Alright? And gambling for me, just as you talked about, it would be impossible to gamble in every bookies in Ireland as a gambler. But I've definitely gambled in a lot of bookies all over Ireland.
Yeah.
I didn't gamble in Bray anymore towards the end of my gambling. I thought I wasn't getting any luck.
Yeah. Now, would you say that that's drug psychosis? Or
100%. I'm in full on psychosis.
Yeah, or like, does like gambling bring any of its own type of psychosis? Because a lot of gamblers are a lot on, look, I know I lost there and fucking blah, and you make up these kind of fucking rules in their own little heads.
I'll tell you this, Kevin. Alright, and you won't hear it probably being spoken about, but another compulsive gambler would understand exactly what I'm saying. I detox from gambling. You hear people detoxing from drinking drugs. I detoxed in my house from gambling. I woke up all hours of the morning sweating, screaming, because I was so used to just sitting in the bookies and watching. I'm a compulsive gambler, so what that means is I'm compulsive.
Yeah.
When I walk into a bookies, if there's 10 screens in that bookies, I'm betting on every single screen.
Yeah.
Cartoons, dogs, horses, whatever it is, football.
Yeah. I have to know about it. I'm just guessing.
I'm just going in there and it's compulsive. I won't leave until I have no money left. And this is for any gamblers that do watch this.
Yeah.
They'll understand it, right? Of course you're in full on psychosis.
Yeah.
You know, because your brain's not there. It's just not, you know, and towards the end of my gambling, that's what I did. I drove for miles upon miles to go to bookies. All over Dublin.
It's crazy, isn't
There were some mornings when I'd pretend to go to work with my work clothes on. And I'd be in the bookies in Dublin.
Yeah.
And I remember a few, the girls behind the counter, telling me, you know, work to go to, like, only if they really knew exactly what was actually going on here. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I've often walked into a bookies when it opened at 10 o'clock and left when they were locking up that night. So that's just non-stop screens, numbers, money, screens,
dopamine,
and it's not even about the money anymore. It's not about none of that anymore.
Yeah.
I think I became addicted to just writing dockets and being inside the bookies.
Yeah.
That's what I became.
And like, what type of money are you gambling? You just be there all day. You do a little €1, €2 bets just to stay there, because again,
It's a constant up and down, up and down, up and down. It's a roller coaster. It's up and down. But I would go from gambling my wages within 2 hours, or I might walk into bookies with €2 and get up to about €700-800 in a couple of hours, and then I'm back down, and it's just constant.
I have a friend who I suppose he'll very gently in a small room might whisper that he's a gambling addict, but he does a lot of the slots on his phone.
Yeah.
But I've seen the numbers, and like you're saying, he's just been days. He gets paid every 2 weeks, you know, and he loses wages before he's even home. It's insane, you know. I was always a snob. I'd be like, oh no, that's too quick for me. My cocaine lasts me way longer, or whatever fucking drug I was doing that weekend, you know what I mean?
But you know, that was me. I used to go into the bookies on the weekends after football matches with the lads, and I'd be saying, I won't be gambling my money. I'm not an idiot, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember doing my first bet, and I was like, just got a hold of me. And it just progressed very, very quick in me.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Addiction can, like, people don't realise, it's like, you know, you talk to young people, Paddy, and they're like, oh, I'm going drinking, or, and you're like, and they're like, oh no, I'm not going to be like an addict like my dad. It's like, everybody seems to think that addicts like sat down and decided they were going to be one. Like, yeah, we all said that. Every single one of us said that we weren't going to be, and then we were. Do you know what I mean? It's dangerous, especially when you see it in young people, because I suppose it's weird, like in my area, and I think in your area, it's like this crack epidemic is coming back, and you know, looking at it from the sobriety angle where you're looking out at it, you're just like, what the fuck, I can't believe that's back. But it's just people don't know how easy it's like. One thing just catches you and drags you in, and you're gone. It's fucking, sometimes it's actually, we're so blessed to have made it out, because like more don't make it out than do.
100%.
And for you as well, like, to come out of multiple addictions at once. And
I was only talking about it the other day to somebody, and I remember, and I was actually saying it to him. I'm so blessed that I got where I am today before crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Because I know the type of addict I am.
You would have tried that.
100%.
Game over.
I would have been the next high.
Yeah.
And the next high would have been the crack. But to go back to the question that you asked, when did I start? So I would end up in Asherie in December 2016. Purely for gambling.
Purely for gambling, yeah.
But I had a cocaine problem. It wasn't as much as I was doing the gambling every day.
Yeah.
But I knew it was there. I knew the drink was there.
Yeah.
And I purely went to that treatment centre to give me family a break. I knew deep down I wasn't ready to stop.
Yeah, it wasn't forever.
I knew I wasn't ready to stop drinking, taking drugs.
Yeah.
As I like to say, I had a lot more research to do. And I went to Asherie in 4 weeks, and the counsellors in there suggested that I go off to Mella in Waterford, which is a secondary treatment centre you go to after Asherie, and that's a 6-month treatment centre.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought, Kevin, I was cured. You know, you spoke about that episode with Kevin about the train.
Yeah, that was down there.
And I remember, I'll talk about that.
Yeah, because I know the story, but obviously for the listeners, 100% tell that story.
So I arrived in Asherie, mentally completely fucked. The gambling was after bringing me to my knees. Not only me, to my family as well.
Yeah.
Right? I ripped through my family like a tornado, destroyed them. And I arrived there on a Friday. I was suicidal. I had suicidal thoughts non-stop going into the treatment centre. And there's a train that runs at the back of the garden. It's the Rosslare train down to the very back, and it runs to Dublin. And there's a little bench that you can sit on in the garden. You see the train tracks, then you see the Rosslare, the sea. And I was sitting there, and I wrote down the time of the train coming past. And I came to that, it's hard to talk about that sort of stuff, but I came to that jumping off point.
Yeah.
I honestly could not see a way out of it.
No.
I honestly could not see how this treatment centre is going to fix me, number one. I was so gone mentally. And I just couldn't see a way out of it.
Yeah.
I timed the train, I had it in my head I was going to throw myself in front of that train. That's where my head was gone. It was just completely gone. Like. And Kevin, you know, if he's ever watching this today, he came down, and because I wasn't in the house, you know, and it's pitch black, so he went for a walk around the garden, see me sitting on the bench, and he said to me, he goes, there's a GA meeting on here Monday night. He said, why don't you? I never heard of GA.
Yeah.
Never heard of Gamblers Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous or anything like that. Heard of AA just through watching films or you know stuff like that. And he goes, go to that meeting and see how you get on. And I held out for that meeting on the Monday night, and I went into that meeting, and for the first time in my life I heard another man share my story about gambling. I always thought I only gambled the way I gambled, nobody else gambles the way I gamble.
Yeah.
And I heard another man who had a great job, great family, and he lost everything through gambling. And I cried for the whole meeting. Never cried. Cried for the whole meeting. And I went from suicidal to looking for the next meeting.
Yeah.
On the notice board.
Yeah.
And that really kick-started my time in that treatment centre. Yeah. The smile came back to my face, the colour came back to my face, I was eating well. And the counsellor was saying, look, we think you should go off to Camilla, and I was like, no, I'm good, I'm cured. And
yeah, I've had a good few days. Yeah.
I was kidding myself, I was nowhere near cured.
But the thing is, that's nearly a part of the process though, is it? Like, as becoming in recovery, like, it's like, you hear so many addicts go, oh yeah, well I went to like meetings for a few months or a few weeks, and then you think that you're healed, but you don't understand like the level, like what the big powerful thing to me was like understanding the addiction as an allergy. Going like, you can be away from it for years But as soon as you're around it again, the allergy will kick back in. Like, I've seen it even in my own friends recently, friends that were doing well, throwing their lives away with drugs again after getting months of months of sobriety. Are just, it's so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch the people you love, and it's so sad being in their positions when you listen to like young people and stuff be like, oh no, that won't happen to me, because you're just like, if you could literally bring them to a CA room and go, see every single person in this room all said that, you know what I mean, and it's unfortunate. It looks like, sometimes it looks like it's getting better, and then sometimes it looks like it's getting worse. I seem to know a lot of people like younger than me now that are really giving sobriety a chance. Like, I don't know, or you can answer me this, Paddy, in your generation when you were in around 30, 35, did you know loads of 30 or 20 year olds that were giving sobriety a try?
When I first came in?
When you were younger?
No.
No, that's why it seems to be getting popular now, like a bit more popular, although the drugs or the side effects also getting worse.
Recovery's growing, Kevin.
Yeah.
And it's because of the likes of this stuff.
Yeah.
Podcast, social media.
Yeah.
Like, people are actually documenting their recovery on social media now.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are, like, if you type in recovery now into social media, a lot of videos comes up.
Everybody.
You know, it seems to be, it's taken off.
Yeah, it's like you're running with Chris. He's another great one in Dublin.
I know Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, he's another great one. He does brilliant work. But yeah, you're right. There is. It's like becoming cool. Like, I don't like, even when my dad was getting sober. My dad was 25 years sober. He like, we just thought it was a cult and shit like that, you know what I mean? Like, we just laughed at it. And, like,
and a lot of people do, Kevin, when they first come into the realms. A lot of people come in and say, oh, what when I started to hear the word God and all, I was like, what is going on here? Like,
yeah.
You know, what am I getting myself into here?
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I was blessed, because I always was super spiritual. Like Sofa tells, early 20s I got with Sofa, and I've been spiritual even since way before that. Just the house I grew up in, and had so many religious experience in the CA rooms that was like, the God bit is probably the best bit, the most important bit, or the bit that's gonna.
It took me a long time to accept.
Yeah,
a long time.
It's because it's the hardest bit to accept if you're not already kind of into that thing. And like you're saying, a lot of addicts have a lot of trauma, and there's a lot of like, well, if there was a God, those things wouldn't have happened. Like, so there is a lot of that. Let me ask you about your wife,
Julianne.
How long? Are you married actually?
No. We're as good as
when she watches this, and I kill you again. That's our wife.
As I like to say, we're as good as married.
As good as married. Don't imagine she says that. So how long are you together?
Oh Jesus! I better get this right now, otherwise. I think we're coming up to 22 years. 22 this year. Yeah. Jesus. Could be 23.
Yeah. And so, like, I mean, obviously she's been through
rock.
So this is why I want to ask about it, because it'd be fucking ruthless to get you to come on a podcast and not throw the flowers at her, isn't it? So it has to be done, like. So yeah, just tell me a little bit about her, how you met. And
Julianne's my absolute rock. Yeah, just as much as Sean. You know, I always say I build my recovery and my life today around Julianne and Sean. Yeah. You know,
that's something that I took from you as well.
But she's seen the worst of me in addiction before anybody else. She's got the brunt of it.
Yeah.
But she knew me outside of addiction. I'm like two different Paddys.
Yeah.
When I'm in addiction, I'm not a nice person, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
You take me out of addiction, this is you're here. So she knew that.
Yeah.
So she was always holding out for that. And thankfully, by the grace of God, I was able to give her that back. Yeah. Especially over the last 5 years. It's been amazing. But without her, I definitely wouldn't be here, Kev.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I would agree.
100%. You know what I mean? I'd be. I don't know where I'd be. I wouldn't be here.
And what age were you when you had your son?
I better get this right now as well. Sean's 19 this year, so I would have been 19, 20. Yeah.
And obviously, Sean lived through a lot of some of your addiction years. When did like your relationship with Sean? Because right, so I gotta give you where like, so me and you had a conversation a little while back, and
it's great how you remembered all these conversations, and I was sitting there saying, "How do you remember that?"
I picked out the gems, bro. That's because he managed me, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he said to me on the phone one day, we said something about collecting my dog in school. He goes, "No, you don't have to collect your dog in school. You get my dog in school." And that sticks with me. And I say that to my friends, like, I suppose, right, the best version of me there is the Kev that's on the school walk with Bella. Yeah. And I don't know if you would agree, but the best version of Paddy there seems to be is the one that's bringing Sean to training and is watching Sean when he trains, and that's like the best version of you that there is. When did he finally get the best version of Paddy that there was? Like, obviously he would have lived through some addiction, Paddy, but within sobriety, file, like, when did you and Sean really click? Like,
right, I've always been a good father.
Yeah.
From when Sean was born.
Yeah.
And as I said, I played sports. So anytime I played football or had a match, Sean was there.
Yeah.
From the minute he could walk.
Yeah.
Same with the hurling. He was always on the sideline. He was always there when I trained. Somewhere along my own journey in life, I just got lost with addiction. Yeah. So Sean lost me for a while.
Yeah.
Good few years, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But the last 5 years, when I came into recovery, Sean just went on a whole different level with the fight. Like I was actually scared. I had fear around it. Yeah. How good our lives were becoming. I was afraid. Yeah, that's the truth, man. I had fear around it. Like, it was
waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah, constant fear. Like.
Yeah.
And he just excelled in what he was doing. You know, fights, we got to travel. We were over in Abu Dhabi 2 years ago and he fought over there, you know, over Liverpool a few weeks ago, all over Ireland. That set the foundation for me to become a father all over again and being there for Sean. And he'll never understand how that helped me early in recovery. Never. Like, he'll never understand it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to understand it.
No.
Let's be honest, he doesn't.
No.
But he knows how much. Yeah, but he knows, and Julianne as well. Like, you know, they both know how much gratitude I have for that.
Yeah, because every day, by being sober, you show it, isn't it? It's not an apology. It's like, I've changed my life for years.
I put in the action.
Yeah.
You know, I put in an awful lot of work into myself to get myself well. You know, I came out of treatment camp, I was still suicidal. I'd no drink and drugs anymore.
Like, I think a lot of addicts will relate, like, that period of sobriety, like, whether the first 2 years can be as mental as the actual drug addiction itself, because, like, I noticed after being sober for like 6 months, like, my emotions came back, and like, I couldn't fucking watch an episode of EastEnders or and I'm fucking crying about that happening. You know what I mean? Just going, what the fuck's going on? I was a drug dealer a few months ago. Like,
I was walking down the road looking at a tree and I started crying. That's the truth,
like, and again, like, a lot of the CA meetings as well, when people were talking, I used to be fucking fighting the back, like, you know what I mean? Like, especially saying people used to get me there, was always just just a great speaker. Yeah. Reminds me of my sister as well, and fucking, man, she used to get me, but no, it is, it's that period where you're getting sober and you're trying to fix everything and get everything balanced while still having loads of personality defects. It's fucking hard as well. Like.
Early recovery, for me personally, was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
But having Sean take off the way he was doing, it was the foundation.
Catapulted you.
Yeah, it was the foundation that I needed. Yeah. That stability that I needed in early recovery. Yeah. And it just grew from there.
Obviously, this podcast is to do with the arts. I believe that every household is better with the arts in it. I would consider martial arts the arts. And like, it's beautiful just to see what it can do for people, because I always feel like, I don't know if you guys know Turlock Walsh. I think you probably will know Turlock, but like, you know, those lads that are just embedded their life into doing martial arts, like, it is very rarely to see them with depression or they're just much better at handling their emotions. Like, martial arts is probably better than anything for your confidence, for you're like just managing your emotions, and you're like, I have like, I've seen friends like that are heavyweight boxers that could have done a lot better, but you know they chose the wrong path. And then you see people like Jack Marley that have not drank and done any drugs from a young age, and you know what I mean, 18 years old in the Olympics. You know what I mean, and it's like, I mean, it's there for every young person to see. I think young people think that like the drug dealer is cool or whatever, but like nobody's more cool than the artist and the athlete. They're like every movie, every like high school movie, it's the jock or it's the musician. You know what I mean?
And that's why I'm blessed to have Sean.
Yeah.
Because he's chose that path.
Yeah.
And he was over in the Olympics with Jack Marley watching. Because his cousin Dana, she fought over there as well.
Deadly.
They're all in the same camp. So Sean was over there when Jack and all fought. And he surrounded himself with those sort of people.
Yeah, well,
so I'm blessed that way, you know, that I don't have a son who's rebelling and...
Yeah, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, I mean, if he's going to be at home with you and then he's going to be in the gym, it's a good collection, isn't it? Like, because it's very fucking easy to be influenced. Come here, we're going to cut there for part 1 and we'll come back with Sean for part 2. Welcome back to House Ahead podcast. We're here doing part 2 with Paddy O'Brien. We now have his son Sean here with us. Part 2 probably won't be as deep and as tragic as part 1. We're going to get mostly into some fight talk with Sean. Sean, what's the crack, mate?
All good, thanks for having us on.
So, I just asked you there, how long are you fighting? You're 18 now.
I started fighting about 6, 7 and then probably competitively about 10, maybe a bit earlier, really 9, 8.
And is it because of your fighting that you're not as interested in school?
It would be a part of it, yeah. It was kind of like
all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, kind of. Like I was good in school at the start, like first to third year, and then I kind of just zoned out then after that. You know what I mean? I was kind of just getting in trouble and just felt like it wasn't going anywhere for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you say in trouble, like what? Like just messing in
just
class?
Just messing in class, yeah.
No. And compared to how many fights have you got? How many fights have you had?
Amateur, like got loads, like, but now I'm professional. I have 6 professional fights.
The toy boxers always have serious amounts of fights. I don't think it's like when you hear them come to UFC around, it's like 300 fights, 200 fights. And like you yourself, would you fight every weekend if you were allowed?
When I was younger, I would have fought nearly every weekend, every 2 weekends.
The first time I met your dad and you had a fight coming up, you were fighting a lad that was way older than you, and like I could see it there that how stressed out he was. Like that went to me, he was just a little bit more quiet. He was like, he's too old, it's a grown man, he's fighting easy, which absolutely went out and slapped the neck on.
Yeah, no way.
I watched it, but you know, because you're very technical based, aren't you?
Yeah, no, that would be my style. Like I wouldn't go in looking for a brawl against someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially a lad twice my age, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because the bone density, there's a lot of things
100%.
that play muscle mass and all things like that, and it's not about ego, it's just what it is.
No, definitely.
What would you describe your fighting style, first of all, in Thai boxing, and then what would you describe your fighting style in MMA?
In Thai boxing, like, I'd be more a technical Thai boxer than like going forward, like, you know what I mean? I'd like to stay on the back foot and pick me points, you know what I mean, point scoring.
Yeah.
But then in MMA it was kind of just like...
That's I've actually seen you Thai boxing, and that's like a very basic way to describe how you fight, because you're actually quite flamboyant, aren't you?
Yeah, I like to move a lot, yeah. I just
and you're braggadocious, even the way you move, even when you slip shots, you can just see there's a certain swagger about you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I don't like to be just stand there and brawl, you know what I mean, stand in the middle of the ring. I like to use the ring to my advantage. And
what's like your favourite kind of part of Thai boxing, training Thai boxing, or just the like martial arts lifestyle itself? Have you got a part of it that you love more than the other?
Kind of like I'd just rather stay on the feet towards the MMA, you know what I mean? The MMA was hard to get to adapt to the ground game and stuff, you know what I mean? So I was swaying towards Thai boxing, and I always knew I was going to end up back Thai boxing kind of in that way, just trying to try it out.
And is MMA gone forever? Or
no, I wouldn't say forever now. I'd say like maybe in a couple of years, if we have done my thing in Thai boxing, I'll transition back over.
Yeah. Because you're seeing like a load of MMA Thai boxers now transition into MMA with like very minimum like wrestling skills and having way more success than they used to. I suppose Alex Pereira is like the biggest one that people know right now, or Israel Adesanya. Do you like, what is like your kind of, in your head, and don't be afraid to be ambitious.
Yeah.
Like, where do you see yourself? Where does Sean see himself? What's his ambition?
Well, the goal would be like to get a legit world title in Thai boxing. Like, you know what I mean? There is a lot of world titles in Thai boxing, but some of them aren't because as legit as others. So the goal for Thai boxing would be a legit world champion. Yeah.
Have you got a particular world title that you like?
Well, there's a couple. Like there's in Thai boxing, just as the boxing, there's the owner of WBC boxing has a WBC for Thai boxing, and I'd say that would be one of the most legit world titles for Thai boxing. Now then you have one championship now.
Yeah, one. Yeah.
Yeah, coming up, but that's another legit one. Yeah.
That's like the Chinese kind of UFC.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like the biggest one over there. Let me ask you this: like, obviously at your young age, as far as your career is, you probably think that you haven't accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
So there's probably not much time to kind of go, oh, well, I've done this, I've done that. Do you ever like take a moment kind of after, like, say you've listened to your dad there, to like even go, oh, like, my dad's like travelled the world and seen places maybe he wouldn't have seen, only for I'm as good as I am. And like even already at your young age,
yeah,
already giving their families little glimpses of things that they wouldn't experience without, like.
Yeah, no, it's good, like, you know what I mean? I don't usually sit down and think about it, you know what I mean? I just kind of go with the flow, and it is good to hear him say that. It's like the places, as you said, like he probably would have never seen if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But I don't really get too much into that.
It's you could light a hunger under you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because if I was you at your age, I'd be thinking that's only the start. That's nothing. Which is probably what you are too.
It is, yeah.
Like a little bit.
Like I'm only 18, you know what I mean? There's lots more to do, like, and to be done.
And you're out with an injury at the minute, bad
injury? Yeah, not really a bad injury, but after my last fight, my ankle kind of swelled up and there was just a bit of damage to it, so I'm just letting it go.
When was your last fight?
3.5 weeks ago now.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
I knew it was recent.
Yeah.
And who were you fighting under? What was the?
I was fighting on the road to Muay Thai Grand Prix, so like it's a show that there's a big show called Muay Thai Grand Prix in England, and it's probably one of the biggest up and coming shows now at the minute. And I was fighting on like a road to that. Yeah. So that show was like the winners would kind of get the opportunity.
Did you win or did you lose?
No, I lost, but I was fighting a good lad, Lewis Fairhouse.
I haven't obviously seen all your fights because they're not all televised, but the one that you lost in Abu Dhabi was extremely questionable.
Yeah, no, definitely that was MMA.
I watched that like live and was like, that's a robbery.
Yeah, that's what we all thought like there and then as well. Like I went over there to the World Championships MMA, with doing about one grappling session a week. You know what I mean? I just jumped in the deep end straight away.
Yeah.
And you know, it was an opportunity we just took with both hands because
why not?
I fought in the All Irelands and got disqualified because I don't fancy it for myself. It's in MMA for underage. There's no body shots. No headshots. Sorry, only body shots, and you can't strike on the ground. So it suits grapplers down to the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I could see why you wouldn't like going from fighting
back. Exactly. Yeah.
I
turned professional Muay Thai like 2 weeks before I fought MMA, and that's gone from professional Muay Thai headshots, no shin pads, no nothing, back down to fighting body shots only, and with shin pads and I got disqualified for a head kick. I wasn't going to do it.
It was just instant.
Exactly, it just happened, you know what I
Same
mean?
as like the John Jones, the only loss in John Jones' record is just a stupid qualification for an elbow that should be allowed.
It's legal now.
But even as well, when you talk about those elbows, like going down like that, it's like you actually generate way more power.
Comes from the side,
it doesn't really seem to make sense.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mad rule. Then we ask you this, are you looking forward to getting back?
Yeah, no, like when you're out like this and you're watching Thai boxing, you're seeing people post about Thai boxing, you kind of get the itch to go back, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you have any like injury training things you do?
Yeah, we got told by when I got my MRI scan, they told us then they got the results back to the week and just gave us out exercises to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all you can do pretty much.
Yeah, but it's like, it's good that there's always something to be done. Like,
yeah, no, definitely.
It's only when you actually get into your training you realise people are going, look, I'm out with your ankle, and there's loads of things you can do with a sore ankle. Have you got any kind of Are you at a point where you're looking at other opponents? You know, that lad's up and coming, that lad's up and coming. I'd love to fight him. I'd love to fight him. If I beat him, then I'm the best in Ireland.
Yeah.
Is there anyone out there that you would be?
Yeah, there is. There's a fight got announced today against the lad that bet me there a couple of weeks ago. He's fighting probably one of the best in my weight in Ireland. A lad called Yasin Ali. He's living in Thailand now full time, and they're going to fight over here on the 14th of June.
You like doing it?
I don't know if we'll get the winner, but there's definitely be something that should be in like I should be brought up in that circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because even if the lad that beats you loses, you can go and you want that one back.
Exactly, 100%. And there's another lad who fought an opponent I've faced 3 times. I've won all 3 occasions, but they fought there. That says about 4 weeks ago now for an Irish title, and the lad I bet lost, so I could fight the winner. Like the lad that won that, he's from Turlock's gym.
Oh,
yeah.
What's his name?
Ben O'Regan.
Oh, Ben is actually a mate of mine now.
Yeah.
Ben is a photographer as well.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Ben is a savage.
Yeah.
Ben's a beast. I'd love to see the two of you fight. Ben is like a completely different personality to you. He's actually a real shy guy.
Yeah, he's nice, very nice lad. Yeah.
He's a photographer, so I gave him like some photography equipment. He's living over in Thailand now, as well.
Yeah.
He does look like he's coming back either. That would be good.
It won't be a good fight. Yeah.
People don't realise like. I don't know if you get this, Sean, like, do you be ever out, like, and like have people start on you if you know who you are? Or is there anyone your age that's like Sean's the fighter and Bray would love to want to fight him?
Not really. To be honest, I get more lads come to me and saying like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
And it's good, like, but not really people to be starting much now.
Yeah, no, because like my dad used to always talk about that, like, when he was a boxer when he was younger, that like people used to want to fight him because he was a boxer, because he was known as a boxer. Like, seems like the dumbest thing ever.
People just try to take it over, yeah.
But yeah, no, it does. It's like fucking something that happens because the reason why I was about to ask you is because they say, right, I don't know if you know this, scientifically proven, every man believes he's about 4,000 times better at fighting than he actually is.
Yeah.
That's like an actual stat, right? Lads on the streets don't really realise that even like someone with a few months of like martial arts experience can like the difference that it makes.
Now once you join like a martial art and say then you just do it for a couple of months and you're starting to improve, you realise like how much damage you could do to a lad that doesn't train like at all, you know what I mean?
Do you know Ava Walsh?
Ava Walsh, the boxer?
Torlock's daughter.
Oh no, sorry, yeah, I do know Ava.
Ava, right, so I used to babysit Ava when she was a child then, and I trained under Torlock. And we were training one day, and I was sparring with Ava, and like I'm like, well, I used to mind you, so we were like great friends.
Yeah.
So I done the Conor McGregor thing where I put my hands behind his back, like, but like she did not think it was funny. She was super offended, and she beat the fuck out of me. And there was no more humbling experience than a teenage girl. Literally, I felt like it was 3 people. I didn't know where it was coming from. It was at the end of the session as well. I was tired, but she absolutely bet the fuck out of me. But it's like, yeah, Torlock's games were like that. They're big on respect, and she was really enjoyed teaching me a lesson. Really enjoyed teaching me a lesson that day. Do you believe that like young men that train for like major parts of their life from young, they kind of have less chance of suffering with mental health or falling down the wrong road into addiction? Like, would you put your training?
Yeah, no, I put my training like down to that, you know what I mean? Say if you're having a bad day or anything could be going on, you know what I mean? You're going to the gym, I'm telling you, you feel 10 times better after a session, like a hard, tough session, even a light session, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the lads in the gym then, you kind of, once you keep going, you become kind of more like a family than just training partners, you know what I mean?
100%. Let me ask you this, have you like experienced much kind of lads that were talented in the gym and like watched them fall into the wrong?
Yeah, but not so much in the gym, like as just any other sports, like football, like especially like I had so many mates that like
football's awesome.
Yeah.
I know loads of people that are unbelievable footballers.
Yeah, a couple of my mates like gifted footballers and they could have met it for like waste of talent that he says like so much waste of talent that just gone down the wrong road and not being dedicated to it.
Yeah, so let me ask you this as well, right? So I believe that all sports help people stay out of trouble. I believe martial arts is the best one. And I believe Thai boxing is the best one of the martial arts because Thai boxing to me is the one that has the most spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, have you ever dabbled into the spiritual side of Thai boxing? Or,
not really.
All the lads do the rope rubbing and they brush the demons out.
That's kind of like just banned to you from when you first joined the gym.
It's
just
tradition.
You see everyone from amateur to pro doing it. Yeah. But I've never really looked into the actual spiritual side of it. But I know like the likes of the white crew and stuff. I don't know if you're too aware of that. The dance they do in Thailand before they get in and stuff. It's like it depends on who the fighter is. Like,
I know Tom Powell does it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does it. Yeah. There's like I do like as every other Thai boxer should do. They push out the ropes and hop over the top rope.
Yeah.
But then in Thailand, like nearly every fighter will do a white crew, which is like a dance. You should look it up after this. It's like a dance that both fighters will do.
That one?
Yeah, all mad stuff. Yeah. But I've never like looked into the other side. But it would be interesting to look into.
Yeah, I actually think the spirit. I want to ask you about dancing as well. I don't know. That's probably funny, right? But right, the best female martial artist that I've ever seen was Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah.
She's a field professional Ukrainian dancer. Usyk trains in Ukrainian dancing. Lomachenko. That's all to do with Lomachenko's dad.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
And then obviously even Israel Adesanya could have been a professional break dancer.
When he walked out that time, dancing,
Is that? I'm not gonna. I see you laugh. I'm gonna ask you. You'll be practicing that school. It's probably in the mirror only. But is that like something that's like you see in the gym? People looking to do the
not really. Like people kind of think it's a bit stupid. You know what I mean? Like people say, I'm not gonna do it in front of a crowd and doing that dance. You know what I mean? But then when you go to Thailand, it's like everyone wants to do it. It's like it's a popular thing to do over there.
Yeah.
And you might see that come into Ireland in the next couple of years, like with it growing so much.
But I'm talking about as well, just regular dancing, like training, actual dancing aside of training. Because Lomachenko's father made Lomachenko and Usyk stop boxing for a couple of years and only do dancing.
Yeah.
And so basically what it was the cardio and the footwork. It was all about the
everything.
I think if you watch boxing.
Yeah, I watch boxing.
Have you watched Lomachenko?
Yeah.
Like, so if you watch Lomachenko, the best feat,
like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's
I'm just curious, have you ever looked into that? Was that something that you would...
It never even crossed my mind, if I'm being honest. But like, I know, like my good mate Sean Tyndall, he's coming onto the scene now, professional boxer. And he would like, not so much dancing, but kind of do like footwork stuff.
Yeah, footwork stuff.
Yeah.
You look like when you watch your fight, you look like that you do footwork stuff.
Not really, if I'm being honest. No, it's just kind of, it just came with it. Like I never even thought.
That can be the swagger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes like when you're just swaggering, you're shouldering and you're moving, it's just the feet just go.
Just goes with it,
like swagger almost that just takes over your whole body.
Yeah.
Come here, have you got any up and coming fights or anything that you're going to be announcing? We're going to do a little documentary.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, 100%.
I have loads of ideas for fucking be sick. Do you want to tell people where to get you on social media? No point in asking Paddy, he probably wants to hide the social media.
He's ghost.
Get your social media out there, do you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, it's Sean O'Brien Muay Thai, and then on TikTok it's the same.
Right, lads, fair play for coming. It was great podcast, Paddy, and Sean, thanks for coming. I don't know how often you get to listen to your dad talk like that.
Not much at all, no.
But yeah, because obviously, like, we get to hear the side of your dad in like CA rooms. So obviously you're not probably going to be there with him, but I hope you enjoy it. So obviously, I'm sure you are around a lot of people that admire your dad. And this is why. You know what I mean? So it was lovely to give you an opportunity to see like how your dad is in the CA rooms, and that's thanks for coming. Fair play.
Thanks for having us on.
Appreciate it.